Welcome to this episode of the Building Texas Show. I'm excited to be in Midland, Texas today, one of my favorite parts of the state. And Midland is growing, like many places in Texas, but Midland's always been growing. And it has an interesting character, an interesting history, and it serves as a critically important part, not just of our state, but of our country from an oil and gas perspective and the independence that that industry gives us. Mayor Lori Blong, thank you for joining us today.
I'm excited to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Well, as I mentioned, I met you at UT Permian Basin back in the spring, and UT Permian Basin had us out to really talk about all of the wonderful programs, classes, and work and innovation that's happening on their campus. But that's happening in Midland too. And I'm excited to recognize Midland as a spaceport, one of very few in the state, and continuing to drive innovation in industries beyond oil and gas.
We do. We have a lot of things that are happening, and I think the Permian Basin has long been known for oil and gas. Midland has long been known for oil and gas, but we have a lot of other things taking place here too. We never turn our back on oil and gas. We're very thankful to be such a hub for the industry, but we also are looking at lots of expansion and growth in other industries.
And that's happening in the academic industry, healthcare, hospitals, and then space, aerospace innovation. And that's what I see as a real opportunity as you continue to grow that region. You're looking for people to move there.
We are. We have enjoyed among the lowest unemployment rate in the state over the last several years, which is a great thing. That means that Midlanders are employed and that things are going well, but it also brings with additional challenges when you need to hire people for industry expansion, whether that's existing industry or new industry that might look to locate here. And so we've done a lot of work to try to build up our workforce and to be able to be a place where people can come here for training, whether that's for oil and gas or aerospace or other things. So we view that as part of the task that we have at hand.
Now, how long have you been mayor of Midland?
I have just completed my first 3-year term as mayor. So I did a 3-year term on city council, a 3-year term as mayor, and then I was recently reelected for my second term as mayor.
Well, congratulations. And with 3-year terms, that's a long runway. I've seen 1-year terms, 2-year terms. This is the first 3-year term we've run up against. But there's a continuity in that I you don't get in a 1 or 2 year cycle. So it's exciting to hear that.
Yeah, and we also have our whole council is returning. So it'll be the same council that I've been serving with. They were also reelected. And so this is going to be an opportunity for us to continue some of the momentum that we've already built. And I do think that that continuity is important. Sometimes it's important to have fresh new ideas, and we welcome that as well. But this time we get to continue some things that Midlanders are excited about, obviously, because they reelected us.
Well, and what a compliment from the voters to be reelected across the board. You must be doing something correct.
Well, I hope so. We're excited to continue the good work for sure.
I appreciate you shared you were on city council first, but what encouraged you to serve the community in that way?
Midland is my hometown. I was born and raised here. I moved away for a few years for college and for my early career. But for the most part, I've lived here all my life. And so it is really a blessing for me to be able to serve this community that I love. My husband and I have chosen to build a business here and to raise our family here in Midland. And so it's really my honor to get to serve this community and look for ways to make sure that Midland is a place where families can thrive. I think that that has historically been true, and families have been successful in Midland. They continue to be successful, but we have to make sure we're making the investment in our community so that families can continue to thrive here into the future.
And when you look at that future as a mayor, how far out are you planning? How far out are you saying, oh, we need to be thinking about 2100, maybe? I don't know.
Well, it depends on the issue. We have a 5-year strategic plan that we've already have a little over a year under our belt on that. We're going to be having a meeting here coming up in the next few weeks to revisit that strategic plan, make sure that it's still serving us well, and see if there's anything that needs to be tweaked for the remainder of that 5-year plan. But then for some things, we're looking at 100 years. For water, for instance, we want to have a 100-year plan for the water of Midland. Those are not components of infrastructure infrastructure that you build overnight. Those are things that you make sure that you have long-term plans, not just the water itself, but also the pipelines and the infrastructure that sustain that. We're looking long-term for our roads and infrastructure. There have been some growth in Midland over the last 20 to 40 years where we didn't keep up with some of that growth with our roadways. And so now we're trying to make sure we're planning ahead for the future. And so there's some things that can be a nearer term concept. We're planning, it for the next 5 years for quality of life and some of those things, but some things have a really long runway.
Well, and I think about Midland and I think of a desert. And so, water, how would you plan for 100 years of water in a place like Midland?
Right now, today, none of the water that our municipality relies upon comes from within Midland County. 100% of it is coming in from other places around us. And really, we have the previous generations of mayors and city council to thank for that. They procured water rights and water ownership decades ago that we're now enjoying the benefits of. And so we bring water in from Winkler County. We own water rights in Martin County that we're not currently producing, but we will be again shortly. And then we're part of the Colorado River Municipal Water District disbursement. So we're a customer of theirs. And so that water is coming in as well. So we have multiple different things that we're using today. During my time as mayor and on city council, we've also worked towards a couple of new options that we're going to be building out hopefully over the next, the coming years.
When you think about that planning, it makes me think of the master plans that
Mhm.
cities are allowed to have and often have in place. And I always want to encourage listeners to look at your master plan before keyboard warrior or before sending an ill-advised email,
Yes.
because those master plans are full of transparent details on the need, the purpose, the decision-making process, and ultimately the outcome.
Yeah.
And where I see it apply the most is somebody coming to city council frustrated about something happening in their neighborhood.
Hmm.
But that process probably started 5 years ago.
Yes.
And in the city of Midland, it might be before they even lived there. So they
Yeah.
don't know. So I always want to refer people to the master plan and then come to city council or reach out to your representatives.
And I think that's a really great thing to point out to people. In Midland, we refer to it as our comprehensive plan, and it's available on our website. We want to make sure that people can access that and review it at will, whenever they have questions. And I think of the comprehensive plan or the master plan, as you call it, as the long term big picture. This is where we're headed and some of the vision casting and strategic planning for the future. But when we look at our strategic plan that the city of Midland has implemented, that is guiding our near-term decisions. So that's how are we actually going to enact some of the components of that comprehensive plan? How are we going to enact that in the next 5 years? And so our strategic plan is the roadmap that helps us to accomplish the comprehensive plan. Both of those documents are available for people to take a look at on our website.
Well, and it's just a great place to get to know your city. It can be a lot of reading, but those executive summaries really give you a good idea of how decisions are being made and the cycle of decision making, where you as a citizen, if you want to get involved, come into that cycle at the right time in the right
Mhm.
place, and you can make a big impact because your voice is truly wanted in the conversation.
That's right. And I consider those to be living documents. So some of those things are put down in the document and put down in the executive summary, and we start to make decisions and take action based on those documents, but we can revise them. And so if you go in, you review those and you have a thought that we have not considered in those documents, we welcome that feedback from citizens. And so I hope that people will familiarize themselves with that and begin to have conversations with us about that.
The other thing that we mentioned earlier is there is a need for more people to move to Midland, and that's really to serve the employment opportunities and the needs that you have in your community. What does economic development look like for Midland, and what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years for growth beyond oil and gas?
A lot of the economic development that has really been successful in the city of Midland over the last few years is related to our infrastructure. So we are utilizing dollars to make sure that the infrastructure is in place so that we can expand. Midland is a very entrepreneurial community, and we really very much value capitalism as the main driver to bring a lot of the things that we're doing in our community. But if we've not built out appropriate infrastructure for that growth, then we have stymied some of the good ideas that other people may be willing to bring here. And so we've put in investment in to infrastructure for economic development. We've also brought in some what I consider to be a bell cow. So the cow that's leading everyone else to the pasture that we want them to come to. And so some of those, one of them is AST, SpaceMobile, that many people may be familiar with, but that is developed out at our air and spaceport, and they are developing satellites that they are launching into space that will ultimately provide a constellation of satellites that will serve for mobile cell phones, to be able to have that as the access point rather than the cell towers that we're so used to. So this is up and coming technology that is actually being launched now. We've had multiple successful launches of satellites that were built here in Midland, and really excited to have AST as a part of our community. So, we're looking for those kinds of opportunities where we can help get sometimes it's a startup, sometimes it's an existing company that's looking to expand to Midland. We want to be a business-friendly place where they can be successful, have the infrastructure that they need, and a community and a government that is friendly to the efforts that they're undertaking.
I don't know as a kid from West Texas that I ever would have thought, yeah, they're going to build satellites in Midland and that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But what a testament to the work going into being a spaceport, being available, and to your point, having the facilities ready for them to come in and do that work.
I think that's really important. And a lot of what we're looking at related to our spaceport actually has more to do with national defense and communication than anything else. So we have multiple different companies that are looking at us for testing and development of smaller form rockets and other things that we will need as a nation for our future national defense. And then we have a lot of communication companies that are using satellites. So that's a lot of those are the companies that are attracted to our market. And that is not what a lot of people think about when they think of the spaceport. But really, that's the opportunity that we have. And Midland is a community full of patriots, of people that are very proud of the United States and of the state of Texas. And so I'm really excited to get to be more of a part of that national defense solution that we know is increasingly important in our world today.
Yes, it is, and I think you've built the environment for success, and that's where I appreciate public servants that understand it is really how do we set up to create the environment where people can come here, own
Mhm.
a business, start a business, be successful in those, and they have the right things. You're not picking which ones are going to be successful or not.
Right.
You're just making sure they have the playing field to go out and be successful.
Mhm. We really want to have infrastructure that you don't have to think about. We want to be able to build not just for today, but for the future, infrastructure that will sustain the people and the industry that are here far into the future. And that means that we have to plan ahead. Those are not the sexy, fun parts of local government. But those are the things that communities rely upon. And really, people don't notice them unless there's something wrong. And so we're trying to plan ahead, correct anything that is wrong today, but plan ahead for the future. And I think that that really does create this family friendly environment that's so important to West Texas.
How is tourism in Midland? I see a lot of people going to and from. I see flights in the Midland quite often from the major airports across the state and around the country. Who's coming to Midland as a tourist and what's attracting them there?
The majority of the tourism that we have in Midland is related to sports tourism. We have a lot of youth and adult rec league sports that are taking place in our community. Very robust soccer, baseball, softball, swimming. We have a world class indoor swimming facility. So, just a lot of different things that are related to sports tourism. So, for folks that are coming in for that. We also have, we're breaking records every single month. It seems like we get some notification that we've broken records for emplanements out of our airport. And a lot of the industry is driving that. We have an increasingly mobile workforce in oil and gas. And so people that live in various places around the state or the nation that are traveling here, and they might be working, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or some version of that schedule. And so they're using our airport as their primary mode to get in and out. And so it's a combination of workforce travel and then sports tourism travel with some other things sprinkled in there, but those are definitely our drivers.
In 2026, what do you want people to be thinking about or looking forward to for in Midland?
We are really working and continuing to work on our quality of life as a community. We have a median age of 32 years old in the community of Midland. And so we want it's not lip service to say that we want this to be a place where families can thrive. We know that our main demographic are young families. And so making sure that we have those community or quality of life opportunities, whether that is excellent sports fields or, um, you know, entertainment options that are appropriate for young families. All of those things are really going to be critically important into 2026. We're also going to be making some significant investments into our airport. We've already begun one of those projects to expand our TSA lines. But then we're going to have several other things that are coming down the pike that are just investments back into our community, to be able to make sure that we have what we need going into the future. We're also going to be working diligently on this long-term water planning. We are standing on the shoulders, as I said before, of people who had the forethought to invest in water decades ago. And we need to make sure we're investing today in our water infrastructure so that people in the future have what they need.
Well, I appreciate that guidance and direction. I'm amazed at a median age of 32. Um, you're right. That is right in that age group of families coming out there, and probably has a lot to do with your workforce and the ability for people to come out and build an income, build a profession, gain a skill that's going to let them create that success.
Yeah. Midland has always been a city that gets things done, and we're focused on taking care of the basics. We're focused on planning ahead and making sure our growth works for the people who call this place home. Those are really drivers for us. We do have this interesting dynamic of a lot of young workforce. We're watching some of the baby boomer generation exit the workforce here. Some are still here, and we're so thankful to have them, but some of them are exiting our workforce and sometimes moving away. And there were not very many Gen Xers who joined the oil and gas space, just because of commodity prices and everything that was going on when they entered the workforce. So, really, we have so many millennials and younger who call Midland their home and who are making their careers in oil and gas. And so that really drives a lot of the decisions that we're making. And it's always a challenge to keep that balanced. We want to make sure that we're providing for all ages of people that live in our community, and we're not prioritizing one over the other, but making sure that we are planning for the future.
Well, it sounds like that is a future that is being planned for, that has a solid team of that you reelected for the next 3 years, the
Mhm.
city council with you in the next 3 years. But I want to take the opportunity to just say all of that could not happen without city staff
Right.
and the work city staff does. And a lot of people say, oh, the mayor has all this money, makes all this salary and power, and they do all these things. And that's just not fair or right. I say mayor is a near volunteer, if not fully volunteer
Yeah.
role. And it is the city staff that makes a lot of the magic happen. And the mayor and city council do a wonderful job of representing the voters.
Yeah.
And the more we can have people understand that, I think I hope that there's a bigger appreciation for public servants that put yourself in the crosshairs a little bit out there, just saying, hey, I'm leading this charge. Might not always be popular. You
Right.
take a lot of feedback, but I want to take the moment to appreciate city staff and the work that goes into everything you've talked about today.
Well, we are very thankful to have a great city staff, and really largely they see themselves as stewards of our
Mhm.
community. They're stewards of our resources. And in Midland, we have a lot of resources, but they're also stewards of our infrastructure and the trust that residents place in the elected officials, but also in the staff that carry out the plans that we put in place. As mayor and as a council, we put that strategic plan and that long term plan into place, but we have a staff that helps to carry that out. And so, over 1,000 people in our case are executing on a total budget of just a little under $500 million annually. And so, we definitely have a big task at hand, and I'm so thankful for the people that I get to work with to carry that out.
Well, Mayor Blong, thank you so much for the time today. I've learned a lot about Midland. I'm excited to share more about Midland with Texans and encourage people to rediscover Midland and the opportunities that exist there. If you're wanting to be in the trades, if you're wanting to look for business ownership and that entrepreneurship model of a career, the Permian Basin's a great place to find yourself, and Midland has got a set of resources available to help you be successful.
That's exactly right. Growth brings opportunity, but it also brings responsibility. And in Midland, we're committed to managing growth in a way that is smart, practical, and sustainable. And so we're really thankful to have the opportunity to talk to you today and would welcome Midlanders and people from around the state to give us a look and let us know your thoughts.
Well, thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining us at the Building Texas Show. We're excited to share stories from across the state covering the future of work and what Texas is going to look like over the next 50 years. Please like and subscribe on YouTube.